Brooke Rollins of Agriculture, requiring everyone to reapply. Of course, as you know, we have a process for that now. Every 6 months, you've got to recertify. I think the problem, however, is that the system itself just desperately needs modernizing, that the people who apply, most of the fraud, it's been determined, is the result of just being dishonest about their income, their work situation, all the other qualifications. This is just a hard one, and I think we need better systems to really help determine that folks who were enrolled in receiving those benefits are truly eligible.
I agree completely. We need enhanced verification to make sure that we are servicing the people who truly deserve those benefits, but we're stopping the waste, fraud, and abuse.
Yeah.
Congress has also sought to put in place some work requirements that would go into place in 2027. And I think the other component of that, Gerard, is when we do identify particularly fraud, people who are fleecing the system, I think it's important that those individuals be prosecuted. Not talking about people who may have believed that they received the benefits, but we know that there are people who do not qualify. They know that they don't qualify, but they continue to receive those benefits. And until they see that there's a consequence to that, we're going to have people that are going to take advantage of the charity of the American people, and they are going to fleece the taxpayers of the United States.
Yeah, and as you know, they're supposed to submit all that information online, medical expenses, proof of income, citizenship, and so forth, and then they're supposed to submit to an interview by someone that is working in the SNAP program at the state level, and then it takes on average about 30 days for a decision to be made. They actually complete what's called an eligibility interview, and then the state verifies. But I think it's pretty difficult to figure out whether or not all that information is accurate. Income and where you live and medical expenses and ability to work and then to prove you're working or satisfying the community service requirement, full-time student, et cetera. These programs I think they need some revamping just to make sure that we're only sending benefits out to people who truly qualify.
Yeah, and I agree. And this is something, Gerard, that particularly is you have some expertise in is, what can we do to make sure that, one, all of these systems, these databases are communicating with one another so that the information that is collected by SNAP, that can be compared to other information as far as wages and earnings and things of that nature. And then how can we utilize AI to help us identify potential areas of abuse and fraud? Because we know that, that there is, as we continue to advance in technology, that we're going to have to be depending upon systems like that. And again, you can speak much more intelligently about the need for the interconnection of these systems and how AI can help us be able to weed out those people who don't belong in the system. But that's something, that I think is very important. I think many of us, when we saw that SNAP benefits were going to be reduced, we saw videos posted online of individuals who, at least some of the videos that I saw, would indicate to me that some of these individuals were gaming the system, that some of these individuals, they were showing up driving a nicer vehicle than I was.
No doubt.
SNAP benefits to go out and to purchase groceries for their family. I even saw something where someone was called out by another individual online that the person was in one post complaining about the fact that their SNAP benefits were being reduced, but in a post the week before was talking about how they had purchased tickets to a professional football game for them and their family, and that they were looking forward to being able to take their family to a professional sporting event.
Unbelievable.
And so clearly there was some disposable income that this individual had, and it was not necessarily money that the SNAP benefits was not necessarily money that they were depending upon living. They were just using their personal income for things of leisure and pleasure versus actually paying for the needed expenses of those families. And so I do think that that was one thing that we identified during the 6-week shutdown that the Democrats put us through, is that there is waste, there is fraud, there is abuse. We do need to make sure that people are re-registering, that we're collecting the proper information, and that we're doing a deep dive into that information because there is a great deal of abuse and fraud in that program, and that I think many of us recognize.
Totally right, and you're so right. We should be engaging technology more, and in particular now with AI. And I'm not so sure, Congressman, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but I start thinking about these programs, and you discussing a case where somebody's bragging about having tickets to a major sporting event, which you got to have some disposable income, as you note, to do that, but yet they're complaining about their SNAP benefits. That aggravates people a lot, and I know you hear that. But maybe it's a situation where, hey, if we're going to give you these benefits, well, then we maybe need to have you forego some of your privacy. Like maybe we need to be able to know how they're spending their money in exchange for these benefits, because otherwise they just manipulate and game and honestly misrepresent, and they end up getting them.
Yeah, again, anything that we can do to verify that the information that the government is receiving is accurate, anything that we can put in place to prevent waste, fraud, and abuse, I think is needed. I also think that as far as the SNAP benefits, that we should be able to place limits on those benefits as to what food products that they can purchase.
Absolutely.
We currently prohibit alcohol and tobacco products from being used. But if we're going to promote a healthy lifestyle, and if the federal government is going to be giving individuals money for which they can use to purchase groceries for their families, I'm all in favor of, hey, let's making sure that we are encouraging people to purchase healthy foods. Fruits, vegetables, those things, dairy products, those things which are much healthier than, say, some of the processed foods, some of the sugary drinks, some of the candies and desserts that people sometimes use those funds for. And again, if you're making your own money and you want to spend your money on however you want to do that at the grocery store, if you want to go and purchase nothing but sugary drinks and sweets, if you're making that money, you should have that choice. Sure. But if we as the government, if we are giving money for people to have those, what really should be staples of their diet, then I think we should look at putting restrictions in place.
We got a break right here. Can you hang on with us to talk some more?
Yes, sir. Would love to.
I love it. All right. You got Congressman Michael Guest coming right back. Welcome back, everyone. It's middays from the Element Well studio. We got Congressman Michael Guest on the line. All right, so you guys have been back in Washington since you had to vote to reopen the government. What's been going on since then? We know that the president signed off last night on the release of the Epstein files. You knew that vote was coming. I ran into you over the weekend at the football game. So how did that shake out in the House? I didn't check the vote tally.
Yeah, it was overwhelming. I think there was only one vote in opposition. That vote was Clay Higgins from the state of Louisiana. I think it was a very principled vote versus the fact that Clay did not Clay had any desire to cover up for Epstein. Clay is a former law enforcement officer from South Louisiana. But Clay has been consistent in his message that he thought that this was nothing more than a charade, and that there were not adequate protections in place to keep information from the public outside of victims. But Clay was the only vote in opposition. Outside of that, Gerard, every member in the House voted to support that. The Senate quickly hotlined the bill, was able to get it through the Senate with a unanimous vote, and then the president signed that into law. And so, the thing is that I don't believe that there's going to be any real revelation. And I've not seen the documents. I'm not on the Committee of Jurisdiction, but I know that the Oversight Committee has been looking into this now for months. The Oversight Committee has released 65,000 pages of documents already. In some prior conversations that I had with the director of the FBI, was told that as far as documents which could be released, that those documents were already released publicly. The only documents that the FBI director was aware of that had not been released were documents pursuant to grand jury subpoenas, and those would require the federal court to allow those documents to be released. But it was an overwhelming vote to release those documents. We will see if there was anything that comes out as those documents begin to be released over the next several weeks. But I would be surprised if there's any new revelation. But the good thing is, look, this issue's now been resolved. Whatever documents do exist will be released into the public domain, and we won't have, these ongoing conspiracy theories about whose name may be mentioned in the documents, not mentioned. This will all be put to rest, and we can get back to doing the important work of governing for the American people.
Agree. Yeah. It's I think gotten too much attention, honestly, and just need to move forward and work on the business for the people, as you indicate. So, what's on the legislative calendar at this point, Congressman? What is the Speaker saying he wants to take up?
The main focus that we're going to see between now and the end of the year, and I guess to the end of January, is the appropriations bills. And so as part of the agreement to reopen the government, 3 of the 12 appropriations bills were actually passed. And so every year, Congress must pass 12 individual spending bills to fund the government in its entirety. And so 3 of those were passed as part of the agreement to reopen the government. The appropriators in the House and Senate are working to try to see if we can come to agreement between the two bodies for the additional 9 spending bills, which we need to get across the finish line as quickly as possible. I am optimistic that before we go home for Christmas, that we will have 3 or 4 additional spending bills that we have been able to get to the House and the Senate floor, and hopefully onto the President's desk. So then when we return in January, we'll have probably 3 or 4 bills left to take up. But that is the main focus going forward. Now, that's not to say that is the only focus. This week we are also taking up legislation as it relates to D.C. crime. We're also taking up legislation as it relates to energy policy, as far as being able to open up additional areas for exploration, drilling, and production. And so we are working on several things kind of simultaneously. One of the things that I'm working on since I've been back is working with the department, or the Committee on Homeland Security, particularly the Border Subcommittee, which I chair. We're wanting to roll out legislation, hopefully first of the year, codifying some of the changes that President Trump has made that has been such a huge success to our border security, closing the border and preventing the flow that we saw under the Biden-Harris administration. The President has done an amazing job with that, but now we need to look at codifying those changes so that when there comes a day when President Trump is not in office, that the next president can't go back to the failed policies of the prior administration.
Okay. Well, that sounds like that's a pretty busy deal, because that's going to be an involved set of negotiations and deliberation just to get through that, because historically we really hadn't been able to get agreement. Certainly in the Senate, you guys could agree in the House where you just need a simple majority, but you got to go over to the Senate and get some Democrats to peel off, as they finally did with the continuing resolution. Sure would be nice to get back to the regular order process of funding government.
It would be, and that's something that Mike Johnson has pledged to do. Is something that we have really been unable to do for the last couple of terms of Congress, and that we will either pass continuing resolutions to fund the government, or we will pass large omnibus spending bills where all the bills are put forth together, and you have to vote up or down on every individual, on all the bills as a whole, instead of being able to vote on the bills individually. And so we're seeking to return to that sense of regular order. We hope that now that the Democrats have had the shutdown and they have seen the impact the shutdown has on the American people, that we won't be right back in this same situation at the end of January. So we're going to take full advantage of the 2 months that we have to try to get as much done as possible and try to avoid future government shutdowns going forward.
Yeah. So I've got a question here on our text line. Asking if there is anything working in the House concerning our farmers. The farmers in the state of Mississippi are under enormous pressure. We had State Senator Andy Berry from the Beef Council on yesterday talking about the plight of the industry. Anything you guys are working on there?
A couple things. One, and just general, the Farm Bill, which is something that the Ag Committee has been working on for some period of time. We were actually able to get some of the key components of the Farm Bill in the budget reconciliation package, which was signed by the President in July. The President and the Secretary of Agriculture have both spoken about the possibility of using some of the tariff revenue to provide some additional payments to our farmers. Because, if you look at where we are, and of course we know that agriculture is the number one industry in our state, and if I'm remembering my numbers correct, almost 20% of our workforce is either directly or indirectly employed in the agriculture industry. So it has a huge impact on our state. We know that input costs are up. The cost of pretty much everything except fertilizer has gone up pretty dramatically since COVID. And commodity costs, the costs that the farmers are able to get once their products are brought to market, those costs have remained flat. So input costs up. The total amount that they return or that they see once their product is sold is flat. And it has put our farmers really across our state. Many of those farmers are really suffering, and we want to make sure that we are supporting them. It is an important issue, not just economically, but also it's a national security issue. We do not want to become dependent on any foreign nation to provide our food to the people of the United States. And so I think the President understands that, and I think he's looking at a way to send more money back to our farmers.
Okay. Well, I know that is you're right. It's a big issue here in the state of Mississippi because it's a little over a third of our total state's GDP, and of course it does employ a large number of Mississippians, the agricultural industry, and many of them are facing some serious financial headwinds, just a number of factors. So I think they will be glad to know that the Congress is aware and working on that. But as always, we appreciate you joining us, Congressman Michael Guest. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Gerard.